years, and I finally lost the weight. But you lose the weight, and you're still craving all things that Stu would eat all the time, right? All junk food all the time.
Well, I used as the example here, but yes, that is
the before picture, apparently.
No.
Before.
Just the junk food. But, you still crave that. And I found Riduzone actually through Doc and Doc's show and started taking it. And it has done wonders for me as far as cravings go and boosting my metabolism, which... Sadly, I think we've all reached that age at the table where your metabolism...
You eat about this much. You eat about this much.
Yeah.
A friend of mine says the other day, he goes, wow, this Riduzone really works. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm the one who told you. I'm lying to you the whole time. He goes, wow, this is great.
Yeah. So, we're not lying. It actually really does work. You can go to riduzone.com and get 30% off of a 3-month supply by using offer code TheBlaze.
I don't like the name, by the way, just so you know.
Riduzone?
I told them that I don't like it. The product's great, but the name's got to go. They got to do something about it.
But they didn't take your advice?
They didn't. I don't know why.
Interesting. Yeah. So, the loss of...
Well, I think, we're seeing it everywhere. We'll get into Serena Williams in a bit, where it's just the loss of reality and the loss of truth. But let me start with something that I put out last night. People think in terms of stories, not facts. Now, I was thinking, people wonder, how's Donald Trump? How's he president of the United States? And we're thinking, how can they possibly put this crap on television when they know it's a lie? Okay? People think in terms of stories, not facts. The more simple the story, the easier it is to understand. The left is saying, Trump is a monster. The right, CNN is the problem. Both of those have some truth, but they hold sway over us because they're simple storylines. We need to grow up.
There's more to it than that.
There's more to it than that, okay? Both of those have a little bit of truth to them. One, maybe more than the other. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I bet you got hammered.
Oh, my gosh. It was hammered back and forth from both sides. No one agreed with me, which proved my point. Okay?
Yes.
Ben Sasse, we saw the same thing. Ben Sasse came over the weekend and said, I think both parties suck. Now, who doesn't think that? Both parties suck. Are you telling me that Republicans, you might like the president, you like Mitch McConnell suddenly? You think those guys have been doing a good job? No. Okay. Now look, here's what Ben Sasse put out.
Frankly, neither of these parties have a long-term vision for the future of the country. 10 years from now, where are we going to be in the future of work when young people are disrupted out of jobs 3 times a decade? Future of war and cyber, the collapse of community. There's massive stuff happening in America, and these parties are really pretty content to do 24-hour news cycles screaming at each other. The main thing that the Democrats are for is being anti-Republican and anti-Trump, and the main thing Republicans are for is being anti-Democrat and anti-CNN, and neither of these things are really worth getting out of bed in the morning for. I think we should be talking about where the country's going to be in 10 years. So I've been saying for a long time that these parties need to reform and have a future-focused vision, and we're not there yet.
I mean, he's talking Glenn Beck porn there. He's talking about, technology, job losses. I mean, it was, I dressed up in something low cut and lacy to listen to the rest of it.
Okay. Now, did not need that image.
No. Your imagination is so much better. The reality is so much worse. Okay, so here's some of the responses. So every day, Ben Sasse considers the GOP blend of bigotry and corruption and says, this is where I want to be. Is that what he said?
That's not what he said.
Please shut the F up. Okay, next one. It might behoove Ben Sasse to bring Republicans together and save America from socialism and the illegal alien invasion and welfare tsunami. He's a sensible man with good values. Why not lead your party, Senator, rather than snipe at it? Get on the bus or off the bus.
That term drives me.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts. We are not supposed to be people of parties. George Washington warned us. There is no bus that you should get on. I should agree and disagree based on the individual ideas and the individual people. We have lost the ability at the national scale. We have lost the ability to see truth anymore. We only see teams. It is incumbent upon us to see it in our neighbors. We have to start reaching out to our neighbors because our neighbors are not necessarily crazy. I mean, if you live in Brooklyn, maybe. But our neighbors are not crazy.
Doc, you looked like you wanted to jump in here.
No, I agree.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your time.
I agree with everything on this show. I'll never disagree with
Absolutely.
somebody. People get
I'm on
mad.
the bus.
Ben, I love Ben Sasse. I think he's fantastic. But again, like I could bring up right now that I think he's wrong on farm subsidies, for example, and that's okay.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know, exactly. Like, are all Ben Sasse's fans now going to tweet at me and say how evil I am? It's okay to disagree. In fact, it's required. I feel like it's anyone who's put thought into these things has to find things where they disagree, and I think. Above all of these issues, I mean, again, Ben Sasse is a relatively reliable Republican vote. He votes with Donald Trump about 80% of the time or more. It's not like I know it's never going to be enough.
80%.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's
It's not enough unless he's just
100%.
110%.
Unless you sign your soul over.
Yeah, and it's like that's insanity.
But it's the same with the left. The left is doing the same. If you don't sign over your eternal soul over to the party and do or say whatever it is they say or do right now, you're nobody.
But the interesting thing with that is that, I mean, obviously, as the president, Donald Trump is the clear-cut leader of the party. But with the Democrats, there are a couple of different facets that you could follow there.
I think the Democrats are falling apart. I really do. I think there is a massive Tea Party-style exodus coming from if the Republicans don't kill them, there is an exodus coming.
Listen, many of the people on the left, they know this stuff is nutty. The stuff we talk about every day, these 182 genders and the safe spaces and all this stuff, they know that's nutty too. But they just had to take that little bit to start the ball rolling.
But what's scary is we just did a series on postmodernism that I think airs in a couple of weeks. And I sat down last Friday with a postmodern professor from NYU who has just left there because he was a communist and he saw what was coming and he was like, whoa, it's going to be the same thing where everybody's killing each other. And he's had an awakening. What people think is nutty has always been nutty, but now it's serious. And if we don't learn how to fight it, and you don't fight it with more chaos, you don't fight it with words of hatred and bigotry or whatever, if you don't learn how to fight it, it will not be nutty, it will be who we are. Because we're close.
And what's bizarre, too, about the Ben Sasse part of this is, Sasse, you could disagree with him on farm subsidies, and you could disagree with his take on tariffs. He's been very critical of the president on that sort of stuff. But what he actually said, is there any disagreement on it? No. Everybody knows the parties suck. Everybody knows that Washington screwed up. Everybody knows we waste time talking about nonsense rather than real issues. Those are not things that those are not partisan issues. Those are issues that basically everyone agrees on at a very broad, general scale.
Like if you were sitting at a bar with some stranger or even some friends,
you would overhear them say that.
You could all agree with that. But
for different reasons,
if this were even 15 years ago, 10 years ago, he'd be the president of the United States. But now I don't know if you can get away with saying that, because if he was running, let's say he ran in 2020 and Donald Trump was running against him and Donald Trump was a new candidate, they would tear him apart for saying that. We need somebody strong, when indeed what we need is somebody who says, look, these are the principles, let's move forward.
To further prove your point, the last 2 years, Republicans at House, Senate, and White House.
Nothing.
What have you done?
What do you have?
Speaking of the loss of truth and reality, Serena Williams.
Oof.
Yes. I mean, I know you guys, I'm sure, watch the U.S. Open very intently. I actually am a tennis fan. I do like watching it. I do. I love tennis. And the craziest thing, the worst decision in any sport to me is why they schedule the U.S. Open on the same weekend as the start of the NFL.
It's always my frustration, too.
But it is like insane.
Right?
It's a terrible decision, programming-wise.
That's why God invented the TiVo.
Yes, watching sports on TiVo is a joyous experience.
I use
Does
VHS.
TiVo still a thing?
So she was playing in the U.S. Open final. She was getting her butt kicked by Naomi Osaka, and she was very frustrated. and she was docked a point. Well, first she was warned, and then docked a point for cheating. Basically, you're not allowed to have your coach who's sitting in the stands give you tips during the match. You have to be coached before the match and after the match, but not during. So she flipped out on the ump, and here's what happened.
When are you going to give me my apology? You owe me an apology. Say it. Say you're sorry. Well, then don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. You're a thief too.
Serena was watching her coach give her a hand signal.
Verbal abuse.
And now,
penalty, Mrs. Williams.
Are you kidding me? Because I said you're a thief. Because you stole a point from me. But I'm not a cheater. But what? But I told you to apologize to me. This is out. Excuse me, I need the referee. I don't understand that.
Serena's asking for the referee.
There are men out here that do lot marks because I'm a woman. Because I'm a woman, you're going to take this away from me.
Convincing she is.
That is not right.
I think later she told him he was not invited to her birthday party.
You're right, though. She's totally passionate. She's, and again,
you would believe her if you hadn't seen, if there wasn't the playback and
right.
then the judges all agreed. You would believe her because she's so sincere.
And also her coach admitting.
After.
Right. Well, yeah,
Right.
that's what we're getting to here, which is that, first of all, she goes on to say that she believes it was sexism, and she kind of hinted at it there.
Obviously.
First of all, if you penalize a woman a game, what you're doing is you're benefiting another woman. They're women playing against women. There's no it wouldn't matter if you did penalize the man in another match, then the other man would be benefit, and you'd still be benefiting a man. There's no way to do this other than to benefit a woman, which, first of all, makes it completely ridiculous that it's sexist. But more than that, it was definitely happening. The coach himself said, I was coaching in the stands. His excuse for it was that I do it all the time. It's so common that you shouldn't even criticize her for it because I'm doing it all the time. Now, she can say that she didn't see it at that moment, but bottom line is we all know that she does see it. Why would he be doing it
if he's doing it all the time?
Right, is he coaching the other player? What the heck is going on here? We all know that she knows it's going on. She's lying to the ump, she blatantly. And you know what? There is an argument in tennis to say, hey, and some people brought this up, hey, well, you should be able to coach. It's stupid that they can't. I kind of agree with that. B, hey, everybody does it, and normally it's overlooked. Yeah, sure, but normally I go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, and normally I don't get pulled over. But if I get pulled over, my argument can't be, well, I always go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Then I'm just admitting more guilt, right? So it's just a weird thing to bring this to sexism. And I think, we were talking about this in a context of, at the moment when we were talking about this on radio, is about Addicted to Outrage, Glenn's new book. And it's like, everyone searches for that thing. They can all go online and say how bad sexism is. And people just fell into line. Because she said it was sexism, no one takes the time to think about the obvious point that not only was she definitely cheating, and not only did she use her kid to try to lie to the judge to make that point, but she also, this ump has made several, he's gotten in fights with other players before that were men. It's just a terrible argument. I think everyone in their heart knows that it's not true, but they still say it anyway.
See, this kind of stuff makes it easy. First of all, it makes it worse for the person doing it. Serena could have said, you know what? Yep, you're right. I didn't even see him, but if he said he did it, I'm going to talk to him, make sure he never does that again.
And that's the rules.
That's the rules, and I did it, and I'm going to go. She could have spent the last day or so working on looking back and seeing what she did wrong in the match. Mm-hmm. She was losing the match.
Yep.
She was going to lose the match
right.
no matter what.
So go back and look and make yourself better. Instead, this excuses you. And the reason why people like it is because I have an excuse. I don't actually have to do anything.
And by the way, if she really wanted to level the playing field, men have it better, whatever, she should play 5 of 5, best of 5 as opposed to best of 3.
right.
Men play best of 5, women play best of 3. Women also get to take heat breaks if it gets too hot. They're allowed to take, men don't. They also play with a ball that makes it go faster. They don't fluff up the same way.
Yeah.
So she's not saying any of those things. It's just, you're criticizing me against another woman.
A ball fluffer?
They do. They have a ball fluffer.
All right. On that note, we'll be back.
Can you imagine if the the ump talk to her the same way she talked to him.
Oh, my good God.
Doc is going to let us decide whether or not Jim Carrey is crazy. But before we get into that, I want to thank our TV and podcast sponsor, Mercury Real Estate. So, of course, when you're looking for a real estate agent, you want to use the guy at the bus stop, right, with the big picture.
It's always a good idea. Maybe a billboard.
Or pick really randomly in the phone book.
I was going to use that guy, but a bum was sleeping on his. I'm sorry, a person homeless was reclining on the phone number.
How about your brother-in-law?
Or your brother-in-law's brother-in-law's
Who does it on the side.
Right, yeah.
That's a good one.
The guy you don't like.
Yes.
Class ones.
Yeah.
This actually started because my wife and I, we were selling our house and we went to a friend because we didn't know who to do. And thought it was going to be great. And no, it wasn't. And every week it was the same thing. Okay, so what do you do? Well, I'm going to have another showing for the agents. Haven't you done that like 3 times? Have you done that? We're going to have an open house on Saturday. People are just coming to look at my stuff. That's all that people are doing. They're not interested in buying the house. And it was such a nightmare. I don't know how to pick agents. I don't know. Started getting in with real estate agents all around the country through another venture of something else, and really figured out how you could tell who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. First thing, they do it full time. But there's a whole list of things. So we go out. We found the best 1,500 stakes. It's about 3 or 4 years to get 1,500 agents. Best 1,500 all around the country. We're not involved. We're a matchmaker. And you call us up, you tell us what area, we give you the person in your area that's the best in your area. It's realestateagentsitrust.com.
Yeah, call them up at realestateagentsitrust.com. That's where you call.
Well, really quickly before we move on, I'm dying to know if you're still friends with this realtor that you picked at the beginning of the story, who did not do a good job for you.
I think we're going to skip that.
Okay. Doc, Jim Carrey.
I think we're going to skip that.
Okay, you guys probably saw the Jim Carrey clip that was going around. He was on Real Time with Bill Maher, and he's like, we just got to accept the word socialism. We got to like socialism all together and everything in titles. Let's watch the clip to refresh everybody's memory.
So, the Republicans are running with the word socialism. They're trying to say...
They're trying to scare people.
It's
communism. It's
Venezuela, Trump says. We're going to be living in Venezuela.
I grew up in Canada, okay? We have socialized medicine. And I'm here to tell you that this line that you get on all of the political shows from people is that it's a failure. The system is a failure in Canada. It is not a failure in Canada. I never waited for anything in my life. I chose my own doctors. My mother never paid for a prescription. It was fantastic. We have to say yes to socialism, to the word and everything.
Okay, now that's crazy. He left out all kinds of stuff about how fantastic it is. We've all, on our shows, went over this year after year about the expense, death panels. We got the whole thing. And that is absolutely crazy. But over the past year or so, I've noticed Jim Carrey says a lot of nutty things like that. But he also says some pretty amazing things like this clip.
There are generations growing up right now who are learning to lie. That lying is okay. That this
kids say fake news.
That you're supposed to hate half the country. You know? And if anything, we've got to get back to a place where we realize that a vote is not who you are. You know, and because you voted Republican, you're not stupid, you're not different, you're not worthless. You know, I could break bread with anybody who voted for Trump. We could find some common ground to love each other through.
Oh, you got applause there.
Right. I mean, but that's amazing. Those are two almost completely separate things. But my frustration was all weekend long, I only saw that first clip. It might as well have been on loop on Fox all weekend.
But here's the thing. And this we've talked about. You have to know, Canada has capitalism.
Yes.
Okay? Capitalism and a giant social welfare state and system.
It's not socialism across the board.
It's not socialism across the board. It is capitalism with areas that have been socialized. All right? That's very different than what democratic socialists are talking about. First of all, it was racist to call somebody a socialist before. Now they've embraced it. It's almost like somebody predicted that. Then, now they're coming out and they are saying democratic socialism, abolish capitalism. That's totally different than what Jim Carrey is talking about.
Absolutely. And we need to tell Jim, you're missing the point of all of this.
Right.
He's at least, apparently, or what he says, is willing to sit down, break bread, talk with people he disagrees with. That's the key right there.
Yeah.
So while he was wrong, clearly wrong about socialism, we need to, go ahead and inform him on those things. Most people are not saying, hey, just because you voted for somebody on the right or a Republican, you're not stupid. I get that. Everybody else is, you're stupid, of course.
Well, but he is saying you're stupid if you disagree with socialism.
That is true, but at least he won't sit down, though.
Yeah, Bill Maher is saying, they're saying we're going to be Venezuela. Well, wait a minute. 10 years ago, you were saying we should be Venezuela.
Right,
okay?
exactly right.
Well, and if Venezuela is not a good example of socialism, then...
Yeah, I mean,
that's democratic socialism.
Yeah, Venezuela's gone certainly a lot further than Canada. But I mean, even with it's nice that he had a great experience with their medical system. It's not to say that no one ever has, but when you look at the average wait times for the average person, it's not good at all. They're terrible, even compared to us in this evil horror show. Even before it was all solved by Obamacare.
So I said, Jim, I'm happy to sit down with you. Let's talk about it. I'll fill you in about socialism thing and why it's bad. And until then, you can send part of your fortune here.
But that's please.
In care of Doc Thompson.
And also Sarah Gonzalez. That's to add to your point, Stu. When I hear him say that, well, I always had a great experience, and my mom, we chose our own doctors. Okay, well, what kind of health problems did you have? Because usually you don't start seeing the problems or the issues until you get diagnosed with cancer or, diagnosed with some kind of terminal illness. And then all of a sudden you have to wait a year and a half, if you're still alive, to see a specialist.
Just because one person has a good experience or a bad person, a bad experience, one person doesn't make a difference.
Right.
I mean, I know people who go into some of the greatest stores, greatest restaurants, drive the greatest car, and they have a bad experience. That doesn't mean that that's what it is. You have to look at the overall numbers.
Yeah, I can certainly had my moments of waiting in line and being annoyed, but I've never had a bad experience with a TSA agent. Everybody I know says it's the worst experience in the world. I've never had a bad experience. Pat would basically start a revolution to overthrow the TSA. But I think I can logically understand that there are a lot of problems with it. But just because I haven't had a personally bad one doesn't mean the whole system's okay.
Right. Yeah. All right. Back in a minute.
Tomorrow is September 11th.
Glenn, off air, you were telling us about a really interesting interview that you have coming up tomorrow on radio.
Anniversary of 9/11. Do you remember, what's his name, Bob Beckwith? Bob is the guy who was standing next to Bush on the fire truck with the bullhorn, okay? His story is unbelievable. And this comes from a desire to start to talk to people who were there as witnesses and saw things before they die. He's in his 80s now. He told a story. He tells the story of what happened that day and how he got there. It's unbelievable. You will not believe nobody ran with that story.
You know what? Okay, so would it be okay for children, maybe teenagers, to tune in? Because I'm asking because it's an appropriate story, right?
Yeah, it's
okay.
not. Yeah,
because
it doesn't take any X-rated turns.
What 9/11 are you thinking of?
No. I'm asking because I find that kids that are growing up now just have no recollection of this. They weren't born. They don't.
You mean?
Yeah, I just mean, is it a feel-good story that they can hear about 9/11?
They should also have. You know what? Go in overtime. Okay. Because I got a few things to say about that.
Okay. All right. Yikes.
Yeah.
I just pushed a button.
Yeah, you did. A big one.